Hi guys, welcome to Peejaee's Diaries with episode 4. We're going to be talking about narratives today. It's a spin from episode 3 where I featured different pals that perceive and receive you in different ways. Just from different time periods of your life, you grow so much. A narrative, just the exact definition, is a spoken or written account of connected events, a story, a plot, just a representation of how things went down in your eyes. If your family was anything like mine, very sassy, they told you there's 3 sides to every story. That's your side, the other person's side, and then the truth. The episode Peejaee's Pals, it wasn't really to portray me in some grand light. It's just, honestly, the narrative I like to carry myself against is what I control. But that's not to say I've never, run into any problems with people. Some that can be resolved, some that went too far, some that I'm gonna just leave them right where they are. There's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to resolve, and that's my personal narrative of it. That's my story. That's my process. So in narratives, you have, like I said, several narratives against you from whatever time period. You don't really have any control over what anybody has to say about you. We all know that. So a quick story time. 25 again. So I've only filed my taxes maybe all of 5 times to be exact. Listen, the first 2-3 times were so traumatic. I really don't care about taxes. The only reason I even filed is because you could get in trouble for not. I could care less, and that is honestly because of my experience. I don't really care to tell you the first one because you just live and learn. It was what it was. But so we're gonna jump into the second one because I honestly personally knew her. We were actually just friends. I met her because we lived in the same neighborhood. We kind of reconciled upon her graduating and moving back home, getting her first job, just getting back into the groove of being a college graduate, a grown-ass woman. I was very proud of her. So when we caught back up again, I was in this phase where I was getting my shit together. I needed a car. Sis was due for congratulations. She just graduated. She had this job. And come to find out, she was doing taxes for her aunt. Of course, I wanted to file with my friend instead of, a stranger or family friend, anybody I didn't know. It just felt better to know, my friend does taxes, I'm going to do it with her, I'm going to pay her. It just felt really fulfilling, I assume, because I had a brand too. So I'm supporting you in the hopes of you're going to do the same for me. As the process came to an end, the narrative had to change. It wasn't what she painted out to the start of. It went from she was filing taxes for her aunt's company to the company is her aunt's, and that is who I filed my taxes with. She just forwarded the information over. Now here's the gag, you guys. I would have never filed taxes with her aunt. I have my own aunt that files taxes. I didn't need nobody else's auntie to file my taxes. So that was kind of number one, don't make me seem like this in desperate need person. I was in need, granted, and still, of course, thankful. Thank you for filing my taxes. But it wasn't to the point where I needed to be manipulated and put last. And let me just explain that further. Because like I said, when we met, she was fully aware of the status I was in. Now, someone who has suffered, embarrassment and humiliation, just plenty of humbling experiences prior to this situation, I can understand why someone would feel attacked when their story is, questionable, when there's a lot of he say, she say in the mix of it, there's a lot of misunderstandings. I can understand that's very hard to resolve and talk through. Especially when you're painting out this narrative to someone already that you wouldn't do something like that. You don't have to make, careless mistakes. And in retrospect, during the experience, I probably came out very sassy and aggressive, but who wouldn't when you're playing with somebody's money? I'm just saying. I couldn't understand why at the time when things got confusing, she didn't handle it as gently. So what I mean is, if you tell me the sky is blue and for a week straight I'm telling everybody, okay, the sky blue, and I go outside and it's green and I'm like, yo, I thought you said the sky was blue, I really don't expect for you to get mad and be like, well, you should have known better than that. I really don't. That's not what I anticipated, not from someone I was calling my friend. So I did react a little offended, defensive, especially about my money and feeling like you should know me better than that. But again, that's where we tie back into narratives that people have against you with their own experiences that you don't really have any knowledge of until you know. And it was all at the cost of me. It always is at the cost of you, though. That's the lesson you kind of learn in your narratives. You are the main character. Don't let anybody tell you you're not. The whole debacle, it turned into me just blocking her everywhere because using social media to further victimize yourself, tagging me, people in posts, period. I think that's pretty extra, as if you're exposing a situation. Now, clearly, the manipulation was that she had to expose me so that she appeared to have done her job, which was fine. You had a point to prove. I do not. My only point was to get my money and go about my business, and that I was misinformed, but it is okay. At that point, what's done is done. She did her job, and that was enough for me. She needed people to know she did her job. That was fine. Somewhere down the line, she had to have just got the wrong perception of me and who I was growing to be and what I was trying to do. I'm not really sure where it kind of went wrong, just based off of the little comments she made during the whole confusing part of, I didn't know that this much fees was being taken out when you could have informed me of that and I could have backed out. You know what I'm saying? Like, have my bag before I bite off too much I can chew. And it wasn't really a friendly service. And I kind of then even learned also another lesson just randomly, that you can't really mix business and personal ever. I don't care if you knew that person since elementary school. When it comes to their business, everybody is very much so different. Everybody communicates very much so different. And the narrative that they're pushing is always different. Be clear on your own. And to end the story about it, though, it was just, you kind of learn everybody experiences differently. When I was speaking to her aunt, the explanation, you came off exactly how it was. This is my company, these are my fees. And it wasn't that I wanted a refund or any money back. I didn't feel that way, but I did feel bamboozled, as if I wasn't communicated clear enough too, so that you could say, you filed my taxes, you filed this many people's taxes, you filed that person. You know what I'm saying? It was just very selfish, but it was a narrative she had to carry. It had nothing to do with me, which is why I never really took to social media to tag her in any posts to expose the company. I don't even remember the business name. I don't really care. The only problem was that there was a miscommunication between me and my friend. That was it. But I kind of learned my hand with experiences and friends in high school where one statement will spin somebody's whole story. And you can either say nothing or you can say something. Me, I only speak to who matters. Literally, like, that's just how I was raised. If it has nothing to do with you, I don't care how you feel about what transpired, what's going on, because at the end of the night, the narrative literally has nothing to do with you. It doesn't pertain you. And those that matter handle you as if you matter. And that's how you know you're in a safe space to speak and be vulnerable, because you're not watching what you watching what you say, but you aren't planning what you say to manipulate. You aren't coding what you say to watch how this person feels. You are being as vulnerable and clear and transparent as you need to be. It is not a competition. It is not an attack. It is not a tit for tat. It's not a debate. It's literally communication. And you literally only experience that with people who are on the same time span and understanding of you. They don't have a narrative to push. They're trying to understand the narrative that is being brought up. It's a moment of resolve. You don't meet a lot of people like that, especially when there's a narrative against you, there's odds against you. And I use that example because she was a friend of mine from, again, my neighborhood. She lived close to me. So she knew there were odds against me with finances, with family, with support. And she became an odd instead of being my friend. And, you know, further advising me, or, you know, just better advising me. It came off for a narrative she needed to push, that she does her job. So, you know, congratulations still. You know, she did her job. With that, I made peace, honestly, that, you know, I control my narrative too. And it was just the bottom line that I wanted my money and I wanted my car. And as I still achieved those two things that year, it was just, in that moment, I learned that some people, you know, used to tell me I couldn't control my narrative, and that wasn't true. Your narrative isn't already written, especially when there's something written random in front of you. That was random to me. I promise you, I did not expect for us to be arguing. I didn't expect for my mother to be thrown in it. I didn't expect to be trying to, you know, reach out to her mother, have our mother sit down and talk, because I just honestly didn't know where this girl head was at, or why she thought she was going to talk to me like that. To this day, I haven't spoken to her. I really don't have anything to say to her. It is what it is. Stand firm in your ground. Just, you know, always say things that you mean. I'm a person that don't like to apologize. So even when I am being rah-rah Miss Bossy, I try to watch my mouth and still stick to the point, because I don't want to have to apologize for anything extra. I don't want to confuse you. I don't want to confuse the narrative. I don't want to taint your narrative, because, again, each personal experience you have with people, you carry that later. And I don't ever want to be that person. And a lot of stories I know I am, but I don't intentionally plan to be that person that people are like, oh, I ain't never doing that because Jazzy B did and that bitch, she made that a bad experience. You know, like, I would hope I wasn't the last person she filed taxes for because of the bad experience, but that's the last time I would let a friend put on my taxes because of the bad experience. It just is what it is. I'm gonna stand on that one. You just learn that those factors, they take a big part in it, and you just sit still. When she was tagging me in posts and I couldn't understand for what, I don't even remember who commented or people did. I don't care. I was still in that moment because I knew that wasn't something I would do to her, and she was the one wrong. So, and I even think just to ramble a bit, she said I was attacking her character, but clearly in that moment, that's called projection, which was in the next episode. She wanted to attack my character first to control the narrative that she didn't do anything wrong. I'm not going to go into any more details because she knows what she knows. She did what she did. It is what it is. And people that tag me in posts, period, that's just really dramatic to me. I read a tweet on Twitter to end the entry today that you control your narrative by not being validated by people. Nothing they say or do, whether it's negative or positive, should define you. And I'm gonna pause there. It shouldn't matter what they gotta say, whether your hair crunchy or your hair healthy. What can they do about it? That's their narrative to it. You know what you do to your hair. You know where you plan on taking your hair. You know. So it's kind of like all the adherents, all the her say, he say, you can't do anything about it but keep in your narrative. What matters is what you said and how you shed the light in it. And everybody around you will just understand that. The people that speak the same language as you, they can read you in just the simplest terms. She said, let all your self-esteem be built up by yourself. Do this by creating goals and meeting them. My goal, and this is a perfect example, was just to get my car. It wasn't to argue with anybody. It wasn't to block my childhood friend. It wasn't to be reaching out to talk to mamas and set up. It wasn't none of that. It was literally to put myself in a better position to take care of myself the way I needed to. I don't really understand why, again, still to this day, I don't understand why the narrative went the way it did, but obviously she had a story to push. She said, work on becoming your best self, and you won't need any individual person's superstitions, opinions, or actions to keep your head high. You won't need anybody to tell you, what you need to go worry about. You won't need anybody to tell you where to stay focused at, because you're there. Nobody can bring you down or put you up, because it never mattered. And I'm just always glad that I grasped that concept, even when I didn't know what I was grasping. Be still. And being still helped me learn how to control my narrative. When the whole world is attacking you, just be still. The people that can read you will completely understand your stillness, and that's where you find your peace at. Thank you for watching Peejaee's Diaries. I hope you guys have fun with those narratives. Be still and speak clear. And if you gotta be a little chaotic, be chaotic. But always be apologetic, because in the same time around that you're learning, you can only pray and hope that everyone around you is learning still too.